welcome to Create Kids. This week we are going to talk about love. When we love someone, we tend to go above and beyond to show them that we do. And in our story today, we're going to see an example of someone who was willing to make themselves look almost crazy to show Jesus how much she loved him. Our verse is going to be from Luke 7:50, and it says, "And Jesus said to the woman, 'Your faith has saved you. Go in peace.'" Real short verse today. But what we're going to talk about is just the story and then what it means. So there's this Pharisee, and we know Pharisees are like religious leaders. So there's this Pharisee, and he wants to have dinner with Jesus. So Jesus is like, "All right, I'll come to dinner. That's fine." So he gets there, and while they're having dinner, this woman that was known as like a notorious sinner, like everyone in town knew she was like the bad girl. And she comes and sits at the feet of Jesus, and she just starts crying. And she's crying so much that she's able to wash Jesus's feet with her tears. Like, that's how many tears she has coming off of her face. Because, back then, they just wore sandals everywhere and they walked on dirt ground, so your feet get really, really dirty. And so she cleans Jesus's feet with her tears. That's how much she's crying. And then she dries them with her hair. That's a little bit gross, right? When you think about it, you're like, ew. She dries his feet with her hair. And then she starts kissing his feet. And she brings this really expensive perfume with her. And as she's kissing his feet, she's putting this perfume all on his feet. So the Pharisee is sitting there and he's like, doesn't Jesus know who this lady is? Like, why is he letting her touch him like that? Like, he should know better than that. And he's thinking all this stuff in his head. And then Jesus, just being Jesus, he knows what the Pharisee is thinking. So he's like, "Hey, Simon," because the guy's name is Simon. He's like, "Hey, Simon, I want to tell you a story." And Simon the Pharisee, he's like, "All right, cool. What's the story?" So he goes into the story about a man who loans some money out to two different people. And to one person, he lends them 500 pieces of silver. And then for the other person, he lends them 50 pieces of silver. So that's basically like $500 and $50, right? And then in the story, both of the people cannot pay the guy back. Like, they get this money from him, but they can't give it back. And normally we would be like, no, go ahead, run me my money, go figure out a way to get it. But this guy, he doesn't do that. He's like, "You know what? It's cool, guys. Don't worry about it." And so the guy then Jesus, he's talking to the Pharisee, and he's like, "So which one do you think loved the man that forgave him of his debt more?" And the Pharisee is like, probably the one that owed $500 instead of 50, because that's a lot of money that you have to pay back to somebody. And the guy was like, "Oh, it's fine." And Jesus is like, "Yep, you're correct." So then he says to the Pharisee, "You didn't give me water to wash my feet when I got to your house. You didn't greet me with a kiss when I got to your house. And you didn't anoint my head with oil when I got to your house." And those are three things that, like, normally when you go to someone's house back then, you would do. Because like I said, your feet get really dirty just from walking on the dirt all day long in your little sandals. So your feet get dirty. So normally when you go to someone's house, they'll have like a little bucket with some water or whatever. You can rinse your feet off before you come inside. Because just like now we take our shoes off when we come inside, back then, you got dirt feet. You got to clean them. So the Pharisee didn't offer Jesus an opportunity to wash his feet. So the woman washed his feet with her tears. And then the Pharisee didn't greet Jesus with a kiss. And I'm not saying like they made out, but just like a kiss on the cheek, "Welcome to my home" type of thing. And the Pharisee didn't do that. But the woman was kissing Jesus's feet. And then normally when you come to someone's house, they'll take a little bit of oil and, put it on your head as like a sign of respect. And the Pharisee didn't do that for Jesus either. But this woman poured this expensive perfume all over Jesus's feet. So Jesus is talking to the Pharisee and he's like, "You didn't do any of the normal things that you should have done when I came into your house." But this woman, came in and did all of these things for me. She showed me a lot of love because she had a lot of sins that were forgiven. So basically, Jesus is saying when you have a lot of sins that are forgiven, you'll show a lot of love. But if you only have a few sins that are forgiven, you're not going to show as much love. And Jesus wanted the Pharisee to understand that depending on how much you've gone through and how much you realize you've gone through, because see, the Pharisee probably had plenty of sins that he just, was like, oh, not a big deal. But the woman really understood what Jesus did for her versus the Pharisee who didn't. And that's what Jesus wanted them to understand, that this woman, no matter what she was like in her past, understood what Jesus did for her. So there are a lot of things that we can learn from this story, right? And one of them is that love is gonna cost you. And it doesn't have to be money. See, the woman used expensive perfume on Jesus's feet. And if it was expensive, that means she had to spend a lot of money on it. So yes, in her case, she did spend money. But in our cases, we don't have to spend money. Jesus just wants our best. And because we love him, because we understand what he did for us, we should want to give him our best. So for us, we could give him our time or our gifts. Like if you're good at playing an instrument, you could play your instrument at church. Or if you're good at teaching, you could get involved with teaching at your church. Or, whatever you're good at, you can use it for God. So it doesn't have to be money like this woman spent on the perfume. God just wants our gifts. He wants the best of us, okay? She was also a well-known sinner. It doesn't say that she was just kind of like a little bit of a bad person. It says she was well known, like everybody knew this lady sinned a lot, okay? And she didn't care. She still went to the Pharisee's house. And Pharisees, like I said, are religious leaders. So for her to go into his house was kind of a big deal. And everybody was just like, oh, snap, you see this lady? She's walking up in his house like that. But she didn't care. And then on top of it, when she got to his house, she did something that made her look crazy to everybody else. She got on her knees, cried, washed Jesus' feet with her tears, dried his feet with her hair, and then was kissing his feet. And for us, when I first told you that story, you were probably like, oh, what is she doing? Ew, nasty. But she didn't care. She wanted to serve Jesus. She wanted to give him the best that she could. So that's what she did. She, doing these things, serving Jesus, cost her reputation. It cost her caring what people thought about her. She couldn't care what people thought about her because if she did, she probably would have never walked in that house in the first place. She probably would have never done what she did. And then her sins, nobody would have known that her sins were forgiven. So she had to let go of caring about what other people thought to serve Jesus the way she did. And we should do the same thing. Like it's 2020, okay? We know it's 2020 and things are crazy out in this world. And as Christians, the way we carry ourselves and the way we do things is going to look crazy to people. And we can't care. We have to let our love for Jesus cost us our reputation. We should be comfortable with going out to a restaurant and praying before we eat, or talking about God, or carrying ourselves in a way that represents Jesus well. When everybody else is out here acting crazy and doing things wrong, like maybe they say bad words or whatever, and we don't do that. And it makes us seem different. Like if you're around a bunch of people and they're using bad words and they're talking about inappropriate things and you choose not to do that, it makes you look different. And that has to be okay. You have to be okay with that. You have to allow your love for Jesus to cost you your reputation. And the thing about it is that's really good. What we can look forward to is the fact that when we are serving Jesus, he's not going to leave us out there looking crazy or being embarrassed. He told everyone when she did everything that she did, he told everyone her sins were forgiven. So when we do what we do, when we serve God and when we stand out in the crowd, he's not going to leave us looking crazy. He's going to make sure everyone knows that he loves us. You know, he's going to elevate us. He's going to do great things for us. And it's going to let everyone know that even though we might look crazy, we still have God on our side. So it's all right. Go out there and look crazy to people because God is going to hold you down. Serving Jesus is going to cost us things sometimes. But loving us cost Jesus his life. And when we serve him, he's always going to give us so much more than we could ever imagine or hope for or dream for. So just keep serving Jesus because the cost of love is totally worth it.